Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. I'm Rebecca, your host of Crafting and Crime Daily. This is a show where I recap live trials. Yep, we're coming to a conclusion on the Susan Lorincz case. You guys are not going to want to miss how this is going to end. So welcome back to the channel. If you're new, so glad to have you. Welcome. If you're old, I love you too. Anyway, okay, Susan Lorincz. The state rested their case. The defense started putting on their case. Yesterday, day 3, the defense brings in some expert witnesses. And I'm thinking, okay, now we're going to get down to the nitty gritty. Is this woman crazy? I don't know if she was ever examined, but by a psychologist. So the first person they put on the stand is a shooting or a firearm analyst. Now, all of these experts that the defense is bringing in are independent. They weren't working this case on behalf of like the sheriff or some lab. They were hired independently by the defense. And I'm going to say, probably not very cheaply. This woman has spent a few dollars on this defense. I'm also going to say, as an aside, I'm getting a cold and I may have to stop and pause for a second if I start sneezing or something. Sorry, it's already starting. 1 second. Yes, I edited that part out. Anyway, my nose is going to be red by the end of this, the end of the day today. Okay, so this firearm analyst, he's the first guy on the stand. And he's talking about doing a shooting reconstruction. I'm thinking, oh, we're going to get to see a reconstruction. Okay, he didn't do a shooting reconstruction, but what he did was he was basically put on the stand to be critical of the trajectory rod measurements, how they were not accurate because the laser has to be calibrated. And the defense, when the CSI person was on the stand, said, no, we don't calibrate that thing. I don't have the tools to calibrate it with. Her idea for showing the jury the trajectory and the laser was just to give them an idea. It wasn't so there could be a reconstruction or everything could be totally accurate. It gives you an idea that, the bullet goes higher to lower, not a tremendous angle, but in any case. So he talked about under normal circumstances, when the trajectory laser is, have I lost you guys yet? This is so boring. When this thing is properly calibrated, it will still have a 5% error rate. So when it's not calibrated, your error rate obviously gets larger. None of this has anything to do with whether this woman was in fear of the other woman. Okay, that's all I'm going to say. So then he was asked, did you measure the ejection pattern of the bullet that was found on the countertop? So they do have the ability to, based on where a casing is found, they can give you, if they do the proper analysis and measurements, they can tell you, did it bounce off something and land there, or did it land? I don't know. Anyway, he didn't know it. So, and he said, because you can't do it unless the bullet is landing on carpet or something. If it lands on like a hardwood floor, and this was probably a terrazzo floor, you can't do an ejection pattern analysis. Like when she fires that gun, which way is this bullet going to eject? He said it likely bounced off this picture frame that was on the wall next to where she was standing by a table. It was, when you look at the pictures, it's almost like a galleyway from the kitchen. It's very small. Kitchen all the way to that front door. It's just one straight shot. So if you come out from behind the countertops and go around this kitchen, there's a little table there. So, and the bullet was found right at the end of that countertop. that she went around and she was standing by that table when she fired the shot. So his final conclusion, this guy who they probably paid a lot of money, said that she fired the shot. When she fired the shot, she was 12 to 15 feet from the door. Okay. And he said his findings were consistent with what she had told police. Nobody's saying they're not. So then they have a 3D forensic analyst take the stand, and he does do. He takes a Faro scanner. Now, Faro scanners are very expensive. They're 3Ds that you put them in the middle of real estate people use them. Because when you see those pictures on real estate, if you go to a realtor site and you see those amazing pictures of these places that are like, you can scan around and it goes 360 and you can see the whole room. Those are done through a Faro scan. It's a 3D image collector. And so this guy used that. And so he had 3D images of everything, the neighborhood, the house. This guy spent probably 50 plus, maybe more hours on this case at $180 an hour plus expenses because he's from out of town. And he had to recreate this, he calls it 3D visualization. It had to cost them a pretty penny. This woman put out some bucks for this defense. I don't know that it helped her. I don't think it hurt her, but I don't think it helped her. I wouldn't have paid all that money for this. Here's the 3D visualization. There you go. And I'm okay with that. Okay, so this is the way it happened. Okay. It doesn't tell me whether or not you were in fear that there was going to be imminent danger to you. And whether that was reasonable. Doesn't tell me any of that. So then the third and final witness for the defense was a behavioral psychologist who actually specializes in educational psychology, like how people learn, how people react to learning, to situations. He trains police. And he went into this field because he wanted help in understanding how people behave under different circumstances. And in a nutshell, he said, we're constantly calculating our ability to manage situations. And as an example, the state attorney asked him, well, if I'm in a car and I see somebody stopping in front of me and I see the brake lights and I don't have enough time to stop, and is that one of these situations? He goes, yeah, but you got a few seconds to analyze, and during that time your brain is thinking. So what it boils down to is the less time you have to think about this dangerous situation, the more you're going to act out. Well, we're going to come back to that because the state addresses that during their closing arguments. So that was it. Defendant chose not to take the stand. Okay. I don't think we needed to hear from her. We heard her during 2 different interviews. I feel like, this is just my opinion. I feel like she's sort of indifferent to this woman's death. Like, oh, it's justified. Okay. It's sad, but I had to do it. All right. So closing argument starts out with the state attorney talking about the law, because the judge spent quite a bit of time before this talking about the law to the 7 jurors. There are 8. There are 8 jurors. 2 of them will be excused, and this will be deliberated by 6 people. And I do need to point out that there are no African American people on this jury. It's all white. Which, depending on the results, might come back to haunt somebody, because Ejika Owens has the whole first pew of this courtroom is her friends and family. And they're all dressed like they're going to Sunday school, or, it's Sunday go to meeting time. Very well-behaved, very respectful. I'm just saying. Some people dress up to go to court. Some people do not. These people dress up to go to court. I always dress up. I mean, you don't go into court in jeans and T-shirts and, anyway, that's just my opinion. So one of the things this guy said, the state attorney said, that caused me some pause, and I'm going to talk about this. He said, you guys only have to answer one question. Was what she did reasonable? Would a person of reasonable, ordinary senses have been in fear of imminent danger? That's what you have to decide. Good luck. He said, was it reasonable for her, knowing what she's gone through in the past with this woman? And he talks about that later on, what were the circumstances surrounding this reasonable behavior? Well, she'd had run-ins with this woman in the past. Now, on the 3 occasions she describes these run-ins, on one of those occasions, she picked up a sign, pulls it out of the ground, one of these 8x10, little flimsy little signs, and tosses it at the defendant. She never threatened to kill her. They would have verbal altercations, but then when it was over, they both go home. She never attempted to squash her or, like I said yesterday. He even talks about one of those events where Ejika Owens called this woman a crazy bitch. And so the defendant marches over to her to confront her. Now, this is the woman that is standing that night behind a closed door that is locked with an extended deadbolt on it. Now, yes, we're going to talk about damage to the door. The door was not damaged. The door frame was damaged. There is a crack running all the way down the door frame. But the way the landlord fixed it, it was secure. It didn't look good, but it was secure, that door. Now, here's the part I had an issue with. The state attorney called this a metal door. Was it a metal door? And he doesn't say this just once. He goes on 3-4 times to say this is a metal door. Nobody objected. Was it a metal door? That, to me, that makes it even worse, because my flimsy old doors, like these hollow wood doors, they don't protect you for nothing. But if I've got a metal door there with an extended deadbolt on it, am I reasonable in a belief that someone's going to come through that door and do me harm within the next few seconds? Because I've already called the police. Remember, police were already on their way. So is shooting someone under those circumstances when they're yelling and banging at your door, a closed, locked door, was it reasonable? So he said, she's on trial for manslaughter. So they only have to prove 2 things. Number 1, that Ejika Owens is dead, and we know she's dead. Number 2, that either one of 2 things. She intentionally committed an act that caused Ejika Owens' death, or she acted with culpable negligence. In other words, a reckless disregard for the safety of others when she fired that weapon. And it results in Ejika Owens' death. Now, I will tell you that there were children. Well, she says she doesn't know. She never opened that door. She doesn't know who was on the other side of that door except from recognizing her voice. How does she know that there's no children? This woman's got 4 small children. How does she know that those 4 kids are not on the other side of that door with this woman? That's the part that bothers me. Sorry about that. So he brings out points out that all of the witnesses that testified and that were interviewed, none of them heard Ejika Owens say she was going to kill this woman. They're all pretty consistent in their different statements that she was trying to get the defendant to come outside. Then maybe she was going to beat her ass. I don't know. But she wasn't trying to break into that house. There was no damage to the screen door, which was right next door. The screen door, the sliding glass door. She didn't bang on that glass door. She didn't attempt to break that glass door. She didn't attempt to break in through windows. She wasn't jiggling the handle trying to get in. She was just banging on the door. What you saw in that reconstruction, I thought that was, first of all, pretty incredible. But the way she was, the guy had her standing there going like this at an angle, the same angle that shot hits her in the shoulder and goes down. I thought, wow, that's pretty remarkable. But that doesn't say to me, I'm trying to get in this door. It just says to me, get out here. I don't know. If you want to break a door down, you're not standing there to the side going like this. You're using your whole 293 pounds to run up against that door. That's how I would do it. Anyway. So they, let me see if there was anything else. Oh, state attorney points out, anger and fear are very different things. How afraid was she that during this 2.5 minutes from the time she first calls 911 till second time she calls 911, 2.5 minutes between the time she's saying, oh, these little boys are trespassing on my property and I'm really angry about it, to I just shot their mother. 2.5 minutes between, and during that time she goes to the bathroom. She hears the rumbling at the door, the banging at the door. She gets up, she hears it, she realizes it's her. She goes back to wash her hands because I don't know. Anyway, she washes her hands, goes in the bedroom, gets the gun. And now there were 2 guns in that trash basket. The top gun is not the one she chose to use. She moved that gun and took the second gun that was underneath it. And then she took it out of the pouch that it was in and then carries it into the other room and is actually walking toward the door as she's shooting. And she's not just like, oh, I'm going to shoot you. She is in a stance because that reconstruction that I showed you was based on her testimony, her interview with this guy that reconstructed it. So she tells him that because she had said, I was very afraid of firearms, so I trained myself. I went to the range and they taught me how to do it. She was in a firing stance. She had both hands up and she was shooting up around her head. She wasn't like going, hey, She assumed a stance and started walking towards that door and fired a shot. Now, the defense attorney, they made the decision there's a male and a female defense attorney. They made the decision to have the female do the closing. And she's very soft-spoken about her poor old woman client. And she's talking about how, she's 59 years old and she's got a lot of illnesses. Honey, 59 years old is like a spring chicken, okay? It is not old. Yes, you may have some infirmities, but that's life, okay? This doesn't, you don't have to be a bitch because you're 59 years old and you have some infirmities. I'm just saying, that's my opinion. I guess you know how I feel about this case. This woman was a Karen. Yes, she really was. So this defense attorney spends like the next 45 minutes just, my eyes were glazing over. I was dying in pain. I'm like, wow, she's still talking? And it was all about, her reasonable fear of this woman. And the state pointed out how, when he said anger is different than fear, that 911 call, the second one, where she's all upset, he said to the jury the same thing I said to you. She's upset because she had to fire her weapon. Yeah, you just fired a weapon. Your adrenaline's going and you're a little upset. You had to fire a weapon. But he says she turns it off like a switch when she's asked a certain question and she starts talking about the kids and how they're always badgering her. She wasn't crying or anything then. She was angry. Yeah. So she did this out of anger, not out of fear. And I think that's what the jury is going to say. I think they're going to come back and say, you were angry. Were these kids badgering you? Probably. They probably were. Because the more you react to this kind of behavior in someone, they're going to accelerate that behavior. The best thing to do with that kind of nonsense from children or other adults is just to walk away. Ignore it. Just live your life, your nice little quiet life. And you don't react by turning your TV volume up to 75 and then peeking through the windows to film these small children, because they're going to have this reaction and then they're going to run home and tell their mom, and what they tell their mom is going to be much worse than what actually happened, and mom's going to get angry because she believes her kids and she's going to hightail it. It's just, this whole situation is just ridiculous. So here's my hope. First of all, the jury is now deliberating. I hope when they come back and they find her guilty of manslaughter, that they give her a nice little cell where she can be by herself, maybe solitary confinement, give her a book or something so she can, or a little television so she can keep the volume, something where she's comfortable, get her a nice little bed, and let her live the rest of her life the way she wanted to live it in that neighborhood. And tell the jailers they cannot trespass into her cell because she might throw a book at them. Okay, that's my opinion. And I'm sticking to it. All right, guys. So I am supposed to be live tonight at 6:30 p.m. with my great friend Mickey Sunshine Creates for our event, The Great Escape. Like I said, not feeling the best, so I don't know if I will make it there tonight. We'll see. And in the 8 o'clock live of my good friend DP Addiction Adventures, one of my sisters, she's got a special announcement. So you're not going to want to miss that live either. So have a wonderful day. Have a wonderful weekend. There will be updates on the Robert Tellis case as soon as I get a chance to listen to that, what I've missed in that trial. And probably that'll be this weekend. There'll be several videos on that go live from my channel. So have a great weekend, everybody. I will talk to you later. Bye.